According to a new report from the Intercept's Ken Klippenstein, Matt Gaetz has hired a convicted war criminal who served 8 years in prison for shooting an Afghanistan civilian in the head during an interrogation, has hired this man to be a legislative aide, specifically working on national security, armed forces, international affairs, and veterans affairs for Matt Gaetz, who, of course, sits on the Armed Services Committee. So this man by the name of Derrick Miller, according to this report from Klippenstein, he's a former U.S. Army National Guard sergeant, spent 8 years in prison for murdering an Afghan civilian in 2010, and he now serves as a legislative assistant covering military policy for Gaetz. Now, when asked, why do you have a convicted war criminal working for you on your staff for military issues of all things? Why, Matt Gaetz? His office responded thusly: "We proudly stand with our military legislative assistant, Derrick Miller. He was wrongfully convicted and served our country with honor." Wrongfully convicted. By a court-martial in the military, by the way. They continued. "Over the course of nearly a decade, members of Congress, multiple advocacy groups, and over 16,000 individuals on a petition have all signaled their support for clearing his name and recognizing him as innocent of charges imposed by a weaponized military and justice system under President Obama. Mr. Miller advises our office on many matters, including ways to make the military justice system consistent with our constitutional principles and values." So, Matt Gaetz' office, you're telling us that in 2010, 2 years on the job, President Obama thought to himself, you know what? What if we target this one guy, like this National Guard sergeant, right? Let's frame him for murder. Let's falsely accuse him of murder and then try him and convict him. Ooh, boy, how about that, White House cabinet? You guys in? We don't know who that is. Who cares? We're going to do it anyway. That is the scenario that had to have played itself out in order for Matt Gaetz' idiot spokesperson's comments to be true. Like there's some grand conspiracy against this one nobody to frame him for murder? How is that even a plausible idea in the minds of these people? Well, 16,000 people say he should be innocent. There's people who wanted Charles Manson cleared of all charges, you idiot. That doesn't mean that you get cleared of all the charges. He went through the justice system that the military has set up that Obama did not interfere with, and he was convicted. The jury only spent 2 hours deliberating because the evidence was so overwhelming. Again, according to Klippenstein's report here. Miller shot 27-year-old Aide Mohammed in the head during an interrogation. Miller has maintained that he was acting in self-defense, alleging that Mohammed, who had walked through a defensive perimeter established by Miller's unit, could be a threat to his unit and that he tried to grab Miller's weapon during the interrogation. But another National Guard member testified he heard Miller threaten to kill Mohammed if he did not tell the truth, and then sat on top of him, Mohammed was lying prone, before shooting him in the head, killing him. According to the prosecutor, Miller then said, "I shot him. He was a liar." So you've got witnesses that say, nope, he pretty much, just killed him. There were witnesses that testified. The prosecutor made the case. Again, it went through the proper channels in the justice system as set up for members of the military, and he was convicted. He was actually sentenced, by the way, to life in prison before it was then reduced to 20 years. And then at 8 years, he was eligible for parole, which is what he's out on now. Now, of course, working for Matt Gaetz on military policy. Gaetz, of course, is not the only individual that this man has worked for in Congress. He also worked for Louis Gohmert. Louis Gohmert, of course, being one of those members of Congress that Gaetz' people mentioned, like they think he's innocent. I don't care what they think. The jury said he's not. He is, by definition, a convicted war criminal. So why would Matt Gaetz even do this, right? I mean, it's one thing to try to be the edgy guy in Congress. It's another to hire a convicted war criminal. So why? Well, if you live in Matt Gaetz' district, you know why. There are 3 military bases in Matt Gaetz' district alone. massive military bases. We also, obviously, because of that, have a lot of veterans in this area. An overwhelming number of all ages. You know, people that are 30 years old that have ended their service in the military to people who are 80 years old that live here that ended their service in the military. And they're very protective of one another. And Matt Gaetz knows that if you lose the military vote in this district, you can't win. It's pretty much a majority. So he has to pander to these people, and he has to say, listen, this guy was falsely accused. So I'm hiring him because, hey, it could happen to you. You're in the military. You were in the military. They may come after you. That's the thinking going on inside Matt Gaetz's brain. So he decides to hire a convicted war criminal instead of just an honorably discharged veteran, a retired veteran. He has to go with that guy in order to pander to the military. And as somebody who lives in Gaetz's district, I can tell you, the folks down here are stupid enough to buy into it. Hey everyone, this is Aspen. And did you know that for the low cost of $0 per day, you can subscribe to the Fair and Balanced YouTube channel? We also encourage you to like, comment, and share. But again, click that subscribe button and help Aspen not be so grumpy.